Hello everyone, how are you all? Welcome to the Agentic AI series episode 2. If you remember, we started this series with Enterprise Agentic AI or reference architecture, a blueprint for how to build trustworthy, governed, enterprise-grade agentic systems. Let me pull the Agentic AI architecture quickly so that we'll cover a bit. Let me pull this out. Perfect. So this is the okay. Let me zoom it a bit. This is the article which I wrote about building enterprise agentic AI system. This is the introduction article. Like I'll give link to this article in the description. You can go and see. Where I touched upon why do we need to do this and what is building, what is enterprise agentic AI system and so on. So the reference architecture which I touched upon now, this is the one. If you see, so we are trying to address here how a user request becomes governed intelligent action enterprise systems. Like I don't want to go deep dive into how to do that and so on, so which you can cover, which you can read this article and understand. So if you see here, there are 9 different layers. Actually, I'll zoom out. If you see, there are 9 different layers for any agentic AI. When you build this in enterprise level. So there is a gateway and there is a planner, and we have a knowledge retrieval at the enterprise level, memory, enterprise tools, register of tools, and model router, execution and orchestration, and enterprise data and application, where we store our data, how we are going to access the data, warehouses and so on. And of course at the end, observability and governance, which is very, very important when you build something at enterprise wide. So what we have seen in episode 1 is a gateway. That's entry point for almost all the request or query. So AI gateway is all about authenticating, authorizing whether the organization policy is accepted to query that, and if the person who asked the question has authentication to do that, and so on, which is more like a front door of the entire system. So every request gets authenticated, authorized, checked against the organizational wide policies, and logged before it touches a model. If you haven't seen or watched episode 1, I'll give the link is in the description. You can go ahead and check it, because this is the continuation of where we left off in the episode 1. So what we are going to see today is this layer, agent planner. So the agent planner, like it is reasoning and orchestration layer. The gateway decided whether a request should run. The planner decides how it runs, and that is a very different problem, right? So as we always do, let's go to the NexusIQ platform, where we will see the actual demo of what I'm talking about. So this is, so I'm in the NexusIQ, same platform from episode 1. I'm going to start the same way how I did in my previous episode. I have one query like summarizing regional sales performance for Q2 across all territories. It's like the reason why I have this query is like I wanted to show some more details, which we touched upon that, and we can have multiple queries if you want to, whatever you want to. So I want to summarize. I want to get a detailed summary of the sales from the regional level for Q2 across all the territories in the region. Of course, it should be from the manager, and the domain is sales, and I'll execute. I will not going to touch upon too much about this layer, so you can check it in episode 1. But I'll just quickly tell about what is this each layer is doing. So we have authentication, where it talks about the role and whether it is authenticated or not, and it provides authorization, and whether the manager role is allowed to query sales data. And policy engine scans the content, so there are no PI detected. It's a compliant. It's there, and the prompt injection has been scanned. So no sensitive data, and everything is being done. And then the tools registry. So tool registry is nothing but to based on the query to try to understand what are the tools you need. There are 2 things which you can see here. One, you have to query the data, and you have to summarize it, right? So 2 things. One is SQL, and another one is summary. So model router selects general model, because if you see, this is a straightforward question So the fast and low cost model, general model, which has been selected, and of course we'll have all the audit logs and audit trial and everything here. So what you see here is like the AI gateway is approved for this particular query, for this user role from this department, right? So what you see here, what next? It needs to continue the next thing like an agent planner. So I'll click this button. So this is what we are going to see here. So if you see here, there is the same query, right? The same approval tools, the same model selections, all carry forward. Nothing is re-entered. So that is what I'm telling. Like it is a follow-up of what we left in episode 1. So I'll start before I start planning. Let's go through this green buttons. If you see here, the green badge on the top, like it talks about gateway approval. The planner is ready. So that's the handoff, right? That's the handoff from episode 1 to 2. That is from A gateway to agent planner. So, okay, so now I'm going to start planning. So if you see here, yeah, so I'll hit start planning. So let all the steps get run, and then we'll go through each of them in little detail. Okay, done. So let's go each step by step. If you see here, understand goal, which is the first layer in the React planning loop. The planner parses the intent and classifies this as a performance summarization. The complexity is medium, and the model which is comes from a gateway, the same thing, which is fast and low cost general model. And that is what understanding goal. Then the decomposing into subtask. Let's have a pause here. I feel like this is the important one. Decompose the query into subtask. Look at this carefully. The agent did not send the question to the model and wait for an answer. Instead, it broke the goal into two completely independent subtasks. The subtask one is regional revenue data. That's structured data which has numbers, regions, revenue figures. That the right tool to get that data out of your database is SQL, of course. The second one is retrieve from the summary. That's the synthesis context layer, right? There are two different problems. There are two different tools, each chosen deliberately because it is the right tool for that specific piece of an answer. That is the goal of decomposition. This is what separates an agent from a normal chatbot. What does chatbot do? The chatbot sends your question to one model and hops it. An agent breaks the problem apart first and decides how to solve each piece independently. So next one is retrieving SQL layer. So subtask 1 gets fired, and if you see here, this actual SQL query that agent constructed, right? So it is a real SQL, not the description of a query or something like that. The agent constructed this from the natural language request and executed it. It's nothing but a text to SQL. So you have a result of 5 regions, and then EMEA leading, APAC is in second place, and America is underperforming, and so on. Next, what we have is observe layer, right? After every single tool call, the agent stops and evaluates whether the results are good enough. Do I need to re-query with different parameters? In this case, the quality is high, result is sufficient, and there are no need of running a re-query and so on. That observe step is what makes this as a loop, not just a sequence. If the result had been poor, wrong columns, or no data, ambiguous output, the agent would adjust the query and try again. So if you see the context window here, it tells you like there is SQL layer gives us 312 tokens, so the 5 regional records, and the summary added 280 tokens. So total context going into the generation step, somewhere around some tokens. So this is exactly what the model sees when it generates the final answer. Complete visibility, nothing hidden or nothing assumed, right? So now this is done. Again, retrieval summary, next tool is calling, and again we do observability, observing the summary, and then we have a synthesizing the result is nothing but sources merged. There are no conflicts detected, so coherence is high, and it is ready to generate the results. So if you see here, a structured response when you come to generate recommendations. There are four sections: regional breakdown, top performance, underperforming regions, quarter on quarter data. It is not a wall of text. Okay, the structured output, the downstream system um, or the human can actually use. Let me see. Okay, so then we'll go to the response preview. So if you go to response preview, it is based on the Q2 analysis. EMEA leading with the strongest revenue, America's underperforming against target. If you see here, there is some, the recommendation is also added of what needs to do, right? There are insights which has been developed from the database. The answer came from a real SQL query, a real synthesis step, and the real generation pass, not from the model guessing based on training data. So because of that, there will not be any hallucination problem and so on. The data and output what you are getting is most reliable thing, because all the checks have been done before we get the output generation. So now we move on to the next one, like the agent planner. So A gateway approved, agent planner completed. Now we need to handing off to the execution layer. So if you see here, there is the execution layer which we are talking about. So episode 3, which will have a knowledge layer, which we will talk about it. And if you see here, this is directly going to this architecture, right? So we covered a gateway and agent planner, then we will come to this knowledge layer. So this is what I have, and so this is where we will go next. So let's recap what just happened. A business request came in, the gateway authenticated the user, checked permission, scanned for policy violations, selected the right model, and logged everything. The planner took over from gateway and it understood the goal. More importantly, it broke the query or the request into subtask. So call the right tool for each subtask, and we evaluated request from every subtask and synthesized across sources and generated a structured response. There are two layers, two completely different jobs, one connected systems. The gateway decided whether we can move ahead or not. The planner decided how we can do that. So let's take a step back and discuss about why I'm building this series. So I've been working as a senior ML architect for last couple of years, and I've been spent years building AI systems, data pipelines, models, and enterprise platforms. And what I kept seeing was the same gap. There were plenty of people explaining enterprise AI architectures on whiteboards, diagrams, frameworks, reference architectures. Of course, all of it is useful, but very few people actually building it layer by layer with working code and showing exactly what happens at each step and why do we need to do that. So that's what NexusIQ is. It is not a product, it is not a startup, it is a working implementation of enterprise agentic AI architecture that I'm building in public. So we'll go through one episode at a time, one layer at a time. By the end of the series, we will have a full stack running: gateway, planner, knowledge layer, memory, tools, router, orchestration, observability, every layer you would need to build a real enterprise AI system. Because I believe the people who will shape how enterprise adapt AI are the one who can explain it best, but they are the one who can build it, govern it, and make it trustworthy at scale. So that is what I'm trying to demonstrate. So we will have a next one like episode 3, which is a knowledge layer. We will see you there. Thank you so much.